Well, I am disappointed. I'm sure the Minister had reasons for going, but I am disappointed he's not here to hear what I have to say. Because the situation is just getting worse. I mean, look, we can bandy around alternative policies till the cows come home, and we can bandy around plans till the cows come home, but like, seeing is believing, and I just wanted the government to understand, if they don't understand, that the situation has got decisively worse in the last few months, right? And you need to grasp that. And there is real human misery. And that worsening situation predates, I want to emphasise, the significant arrival of Ukrainian refugees, and predates the outbreak of the war and Putin's brutal invasion. Okay? It was getting worse very significantly towards the end of last year. Things started to get really, really bad again, right? There had been a temporary break during COVID because of the eviction ban and because of the temporary freeze on rent increases. That actually made a difference, right? It didn't solve the problem, but it started to improve things. So the numbers that were going into homelessness were falling because evictions were banned. So I just want to plead with the government at the moment, because the main reason people come into my clinic and are facing and then end up in emergency accommodation, increasingly people who are working, right, people with jobs and families, and end up in homeless accommodation, is because they are evicted by landlords on grounds of sale. That's why they get evicted. Now, if you stop that, as you did during COVID, you would stop people going into homelessness. So I am pleading with the government that you would do that. It doesn't solve all the problem, but it had an impact, and since you removed that measure, the thing has got worse again. Since it was allowed for rents to increase, it's got worse. Because if you're in that situation where your landlord is selling up and you allow them to be evicted, they have to go out and look for a rent that they can afford. And in my area, I am not exaggerating, Minister, go on Daft any day of the week, you won't find anything less than €2,200 a month. Now, like, seriously, that is not affordable by about 80 to 90% of working people. It's just completely not at the races. So they are goosed. You're goosed if you're looking for accommodation at that level of rent. You are facing despair. And that's what people are feeling. Despair, because there is nowhere to go. And then they're going down to the council and they're told, well, the HAP limit, you're not allowed look for anything more than 1,950. That's the highest you can get. And before that, if you're not on the homeless HAP rate, the highest you can look for is, I think, 1,250. Now imagine how hopeless it is going on daft.ie or myhome.ie and you're told you're not allowed to look for a place that is any more than 1,250 and everything is 2,200. And then if you're weeks before, because you can only get the homeless HAP rate if you're weeks before actually physically becoming homeless, right? And that's another thing I would appeal to the Minister to change, right? Once people have a notice to quit, give them the homeless HAP rate. Okay, give them the homeless HAP rate, give them some chance. I mean, they still don't really have a chance, but they have some outside chance. They might find the needle in the haystack if they get the homeless HAP rate. But you've got to do something, because it's just not fair. It is mental torture, Minister, to say to people, go out there and find a HAP tenancy, because there's 15, 20 years that we don't have a social house for you. Go out and find a HAP tenancy. You're not allowed to look for anything more than 1,950 if you're literally on the brink of being homeless and there is nothing less than 2,200. That's mental torture. That's what you're doing to people, with family, with kids and so on. And if you don't find somewhere, which you know you're not going to, in our case, you're going into a hostel in town when your kids are going, one kid is going to school in Ballybrack, another kid is going to school in Shankill, and you're going to be in a hostel on Gardner Street. I mean, give me a break. That's torture. It's abuse of those children to put them in that situation, but that is what's going on. right? So we have to do something about that. Now, I'm not in favour of giving loads of HAP money to these landlords, but to be honest, you have to raise the HAP rates to at least the levels of the stuff that's around. You have to do that, otherwise people have no chance whatsoever. You have to do, as Deputy Sherlock, and I agree, I've also made this point, if people are about to be evicted from a HAP tenancy, the council should step in and buy the place immediately. Why would it, I mean, if the council is actually inflicting suffering on itself, evicting people in that situation, because those people are going to be knocking on the door of the council saying, will you please give me somewhere to live when you're evicted from a HAP tenancy. And please, 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 Minister, will you, how long has the review gone on now? The income thresholds? 5 years, 6 years, 7 years? I have one woman, Owen knows her too, 3.5 years, she's working for a state agent, 3.5 years in emergency accommodation, and she's no longer entitled to income support, HAP support, because she's just gone over the threshold. Right? She's just gone over the threshold. That's happening all the time now to people. So you're completely banjaxed, because your income won't allow you to afford anything, but you won't even get HAP, never mind a social housing unit, and you could potentially, and some are, evicted from homeless accommodation. It's just unbelievable. Right, last thing, Minister, could we possibly, and this goes slightly further than Sinn Féin's motion, which obviously I support, but I think we should actually do what the French have just done, is to bring in a body that will actually set rents in each area at a level that is affordable and based on people's income. The French have just done it because all other measures were not working. I propose we do the same.